I thought if we ever broke up, I would feel this tremendous sense of relief. I could go back to being myself. But something happened. I fell in love with you or something. And I stopped being a loner.
Dylan, I think that's wonderful.
I think it's terrible.
You can look the other way once, and it's no big deal. Except it makes it easier for you to compromise the next time. And pretty soon, that's all you're doing is compromising because that's how you think things are done.
It is the Al Travis Show, and don't let that sounder get to you, but compromising is interesting. Representative Walter Hudson, how are you, sir? And he's muted. I always have this issue with his phone. Representative, how are you doing? There you go.
Good. How you doing?
Good. Thank you very much for being here. Compromise, that the sounder that was on the program here. When you look at what happens starting tomorrow, right? Y'all get back to the Capitol, we get back to work. A lot of big things were going to happen. We're going to talk gun control stuff for a while. Then it was the fraud stuff, and now it's the ICE issue. And the fact that everyone running across the state is running for their job. Can we expect to get anything meaningful done in this session?
Well, it's going to be difficult, no doubt. There's a lot to overcome, and basically, what we need to overcome is the inertia, right? The incentives to not do anything, the incentives to point and blame as opposed to actually accomplish something. And those incentives are strong, as you put it. It's an election year. We don't have the budget deadline that we did last year. There's very little incentive to get much of anything done. Aside from a few things that kind of need to happen, tax conformity and things of that nature. But I remain hopeful that under the surface of all the theatrical showboating, there will be an opportunity to come together on a few key things that will actually be of benefit to Minnesotans. You probably won't hear a whole lot of pageantry around them, whatever they are, but they will get done. I hope so.
Let's go from your side, Representative, from the Republican side of things. There are a lot of people not running for their seat again that could go rogue. With the numbers like in the Senate, only one extra senator for the Democrats. On the Republican side, on the House side, it being even. If someone were to be on the way out, could they make a play and say, I will jump sides, I will vote on this package, because I've always known it was right. I just had to stick with the company line, and now I don't have to. Could we see somebody jump ship in their final days?
It's possible. I can't imagine what issue that would be on. And if it were to happen, it's much more likely to happen on the Republican side than on the Democrat side, because Democrats, regardless of whether they're running again, have much more to lose than Republicans do, because the Democrats have much more. The Democrat ecosphere has much more to offer former legislators than the Republican side.
I guess the one that I was looking at is, and maybe it's just because I'm a right-wing knucklehead, the fraud issue is off the charts crazy to me, that when you put together a decent bill where 60 senators, can agree, let's get this office of independent inspector general, that was like a no-brainer. That's a minimum. That doesn't even solve the problems we have. It just gets somebody who can go after it, and that can't get past the House. This is where I would think 67 Democrats think that's a bad idea. So can one of them come over and say, all right, you guys are right on this one?
It's possible. I would not put my money on it. Because, again, Democrats have a lot more to lose, even if they're not going to run for office again, in terms of opportunities after being in office.
All right, fair enough. I asked this to Senator Kupek earlier today. How does it work? If you gave us a behind-the-scenes look as the representatives get ready to go to work this year, looks like it's going to start on day one. It's not going to start four weeks late. Have you all talked? Do you have Zoom calls? Have you all been told from the powers that be from on high that these are the things we're going to go for, stay away from these landmines? How coordinated is it on the right?
we have caucus meetings. We have Zoom. They take the form of Zoom calls. Sometimes in-person meetings, depending on the circumstances. And there is a sense of here's what our priorities are going to be, and here's basically how we're going to go about trying to achieve them. Obviously, I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail.
Yeah.
The reason why those meetings are behind closed doors. But yes, there's, and then it breaks down in terms of committees as well. So whatever committees you find yourself on, the co-chair in this case with the House with the tie. There's discussion about how we're going to use what in this session is our very limited amount of committee time. I think we only get like 5 or 6 cracks at the bat, so to speak. And that's not even considering the legislative deadline. So it's there has to be a focus from the start in order to have any hope of getting things done.
Well, where do you see you will be on the fraud committee again, right? I mean, does that have to change, or you can just keep it if you want it? Are you on the fraud committee this session?
It's the committees don't change from year to year. It's a term thing, yeah.
So, are you allowed to tell us what that focus will be on? I mean, you guys have. I mean, that's all we talked about. I mean, everyone should know there's a huge fraud problem, but have we seen it all? I mean, the U.S. government's coming down on it. Like Senate committee meetings. You've been at House committee meetings. How much more is there to find? What happens next for the fraud committee?
Well, I don't think we've gotten anywhere near the full depth and scope of the problem when it comes to fraud in Minnesota. I think the transition this year is going to be. I mean, we've done plenty of work of exposing the breadth and depth of the problem in conjunction with the U.S. Attorney's Office and now the FBI, and you got Tom Homan talking about how even ICE agents are looking into it and what have you. So we know the problem at this point. The question becomes how we fix it. And so I think there's going to be much more focus on here's the things that need to change.
All right.
And perhaps even some bill presentations to that effect.
All right. The story that I'm hoping, if I say this to enough of you all, you'll jump on. I don't know how it gets fixed. Last week, NPR came out, the Optum group that the governor paid $2 million to take a look at. Their first report came out, and they looked at Minnesota's Medicaid payouts. They found direct policy violations cost about $52 million. When they put it all out there, Minnesota could save upwards of $1.7 billion if it closes the gap in those in our policies. The guy who runs the place, Minnesota Medicaid Director John Conley, wanted to make sure everybody knew that that's not fraud. That's us just not following the policies that you all set up. Sir, how do you go about that? Because Optum, I presume, doesn't report to you. Optum would report to the governor because he's writing the check. The governor's the guy who hired John Conley, and he's the guy saying, "Yeah, don't consider this fraud, people. My people just aren't following our rules for 1.7." This can't be that. That can't be true, sir. But NPR came out. I believe it. It's just crazy.
Well, which part of it do you not think is true?
Yeah, that's the problem. It shouldn't. I am dumbfounded that the paper was arguing when Trump first came out and said there'd be $1 billion in fraud, and they're like, you can't show us $1 billion in fraud. You're crazy. We're looking at $1.7 billion in us just not following the rules we created. I guess what drives me nuts, if I was a governor, sir, by the time that sentence got out of John Conley's mouth, I'd ask him for his resignation. I'd fire him. You tell me you know this, that $1.7 billion is because you're not following our rules. What good does it do to have guys like you writing rules, Representative, if they're not going to follow them anyway?
Well, sure. Yeah, I get your frustration there. I mean, and I would agree with Conley that this is the real problem goes well beyond criminal fraud. Criminal fraud is obviously important, but I don't even think that's where the majority of the issue lies. The majority of the issue lies in the fact that you have a system where people can engage in illegally permissible graft, where they're using taxpayer dollars for purposes that go well beyond legislative intent and certainly well beyond the people's expectation of what those dollars are supposed to be being spent on. And they're not going to have any accountability for it because indeed they aren't breaking any laws. They're doing exactly what the law allows. It's kind of similar to our conversation around election integrity. Is people will be like, well, nobody's been prosecuted, nobody's been caught. It's like, yeah, because you designed the system so nobody gets caught. You design the system so we don't know what's going on. That's why.
Yeah, if you don't look. Yeah. What you might have just put this here for me. This is what it is. I understand criminals will steal from us, right? We have to do all we can, and I don't think we're doing that. But bad guys will be bad guys. But we are talking the people that the rest of us pay to do this job. And back in the day, 100 years ago, you did it for God and country. You got paid, but it wasn't a great job. A job in the state of Minnesota has great, health and medical and dental and a decent wage. And we're asking you to follow these rules. And they're not. And I don't see anyone getting fired.
That's because and there's been statements to this effect. I believe it was the interim commissioner of DHS, I could be wrong, testifying in front of Congress in D.C. recently, said something to the effect of, we have a culture where we try to get better rather than, look for somebody to blame. Right. So in other words, the same sort of accountability that they talk about with criminal justice, where we're going to get in a circle and hug it out. That's the same sort of philosophical approach that they have in the state agencies. We don't fire people here. We just get better together. That's their thought process. Yeah. So
no, you're shining a light on it, and I thank you for that. I just want to know what the next step is, because like I said, with the OGC of the Department of Health and Human Services out of the U.S., I said, is anybody going to get in trouble? Is any of this illegal? And I'd love to see that it is, and if not even legal, you just lose your job. The guy took $670,000, paid off some client, some invoice, and then start working for him 3 days later. That, if it's not illegal, should be. I got to go to break. When we come back, I presume you'll feel safer at the state capitol. They got a lot of new stuff going on there. We'll talk about that coming up right after this with Representative Walter Hudson.
At LGH Wealth Management, our mission is to create financial empowerment through independent, personalized, and authentic financial planning. That means meeting you where you are and helping you get where you want to go. Whether you're a business owner planning for growth, succession, or a future sale, or a hardworking individual looking to get ahead, reduce stress, and tackle life's financial challenges, we're here to help. From retirement planning and investment management to tax-efficient strategies, estate planning, and risk management, LGH Wealth delivers comprehensive guidance you can trust. Call LGH Wealth Management today at 507-525-7324. That's 507-525-7324. Securities offered through J.W. Cole Financial Incorporated, JWC, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through J.W. Cole Advisors Incorporated, JWCA. Lubeck Geisler Ham Wealth Management Incorporated and JWC JWCA are unaffiliated entities.
kidding me?
You know that comment you said to the radio? The thing that we got wrong?
Clearly, Brussels sprouts are the worst vegetable.
Call us and let the world know your thoughts. 855-257-7469. That's 855-AL's Show.
It's Al's Show. We're lucky to have Representative Walter Hudson on with us. Representative, I feel a lot of the folks covering this program, I call them friends. I consider you a friend of the program. I thank you for being here. And I want you all safe at the Capitol. When we saw what happened with the Hortmans and the Hoffmans, and then what was it, 6 weeks later, naked guy shows up in the Senate, we obviously had issues going on, we need to fix. And I'm not saying what that means about gun control laws, but the folks, the Capitol security people who were foiled, and I don't know if you can see this here, I'm holding up my rubber door stopper. The system was foiled by a guy with a doorstop. Think they have answers for you now. Everyone will have to walk through a metal detector going into the Capitol. You walk through a metal detector, your stuff will go through one of the scanners. They say you won't have to take your jackets off of your shoes for the most part, so that'll be good. Things you cannot have: knives, explosives, kind of obvious, blunt force objects like a baton. You also not be able to have balloons, spray paint, chalk, and candles, of course, for protesting, that sort of thing. They didn't even ban the doorstop, sir. Are you going to feel safer at the Capitol starting tomorrow?
Not at all. In fact, the way this policy is being rolled out is actually going to decrease our safety overall. And I could go into all of the reasons why this policy makes no sense and is not going to address the actual safety concerns. But unfortunately, if I were to go into that kind of detail, I'd be giving everybody a lesson in how to breach our security. So I'll summarize it this way. The problem with security at the Capitol is not how many doors we have open or whether or not you walk through a metal detector or the items that we allow in and out of the building. That is not where the problem lies. Where the problem lies is with the complete lack of accountability and consequence for anybody who breaks the rules at the Capitol. We allow people to act like ungodly, uncivilized fools in that space when disturbing the legislature is a crime on the books that you can and should go to jail for.
Yeah.
That's the solution, is to actually enforce the law, hold people criminally accountable for their actions, and then have basic security provisions in terms of how you go about patrolling and interacting with folks who are out of line, including, by the way, legislators, elected legislators, because we have had Democrat legislators who participated in some of these criminal disturbances and have faced no consequences for it.
Well,
So running them through a metal detector first isn't going to make anything better.
I would use that very large human being with the megaphone screaming at you at the start of last year. Why is megaphones not on that list? And I would tell you, after watching what's happened this summer, I think whistles should be banned as well, because it's annoying as in reverse. It's distracting. It's over the top. And why are those not on the list? Just to make things, again, a little more civilized.
And again, I don't think you have to go through the mental exercise of how many objects can we ban and then have some sort of screening for it. I think all you got to do is the first person who blows a whistle, you throw in jail for a month.
Yeah, it'll
let
stop.
them lose their job. Yeah, right, exactly. That's exactly right. This is real simple. Just hold people accountable, and you won't see trouble. People don't hop the fence at the airport, not because you put a sign up, but because they know they're going to go to prison for decades if they do.
Yeah.
No,
it's a good point. I didn't finish as well. And yes, you go through the detectors, everything. If you have a gun, though, and you have the carry permit, you get your gun back. You still get to carry. So it isn't a gun-free zone. It's just, I guess, the cops will know Al's got one. Is that what we're getting at, all this to make that happen?
And I won't be surprised if there isn't a lawsuit about this for that reason, because part of the whole carry permit process is you should not have to be asked whether or not you're carrying and where it's at, and like in a space where you're legally allowed to carry, which the Capitol is one of those spaces where you're legally allowed to carry. And so for you to have to reveal to everyone around you, oh, hey, I'm carrying and here's where I've got it, that is lessening your security personally. and potentially a violation of your rights under the law.
Oh, their fix might be not necessarily a fix, but just more problems they got to solve. Sir, I got to fly. I'm out of time, but please, Godspeed tomorrow. Go there and let's get some things fixed. Good luck this year.
Thanks. See ya.
All right. Here's Representative Walter Hudson on the Al Travis Show.